So welcome everybody. It is round number 3 of our Formula Renault 3.5 V8. We're just about to begin our driver's briefing. Welcome everybody to all the drivers that are currently out there, to all the teams. Just remember the format for this evening's race is a 10-minute qualifying followed by a 40-minute race. There is a mandatory pit stop that will be required. But just remember that it will not give you the reminder because we are set on a 15-minute timer, 40-minute timer. So please just ensure that you do go into the pits to avoid any further penalties later on. So I see that everybody's thumbs are up. Let's go racing.
So is that you again?
No. That's terrible.
And then to my partner in the commentary box is Steven Darge. How are you doing this evening, sir? Yep. So 100% what I would like to do, it seems like it is not here. So we might just have to bring up one of the other screens and I can just run us through what's happening in terms of the championship standings here at round number 3. So while I just bring that up, I don't know if you want to just let everybody know what are the cars that the guys are driving, what are the outputs, and just give us a little bit more information. Right, guys, sorry, I was just saying that the guys just came through on the stream. They weren't able to hear, but they should be hearing you loud and clear. So sorry about that, guys, but everything will be fine now. So just a quick look at the current driver standing. So we do have Sly Pete right at the top there. Peter just about 40, just under 40 points ahead of Colin. As well as Dane. So Dacol Racing really bringing the race to the Rough Riders. Racing Butts to Vaughan Hills. He's currently in 4th place in this championship with Rough Riders 2 driver Pierre coming up in 5th place. And then we do have the Rough Riders 2 leading this championship, but only 10 points separating them. From 3rd to 5th place, you can see very, very close there, less than on 10 points separating 3rd to 5th. So really, really interesting there. And there has been a change to the TA Motorsport team. Apparently, they have been bought out by the Rough Riders team, so they'll be racing as Rough Riders 3 from next week. So really, really interesting to see the dynamics of the different teams coming through.
Well, we've got some superb teams on the lineup tonight with Racing Butts, as you say, is going to be there. And interestingly named as substitute Butts are going to be finding themselves in 2 cars with Donovan and MD part of that team. Troy makes a return for Team Shake and Bake, and Chasing Beavers, of course, it is Mr. Hall's cousin. Memo finds himself in that car there. Italian Flair is Mihai. He is racing under the username Wolf_9955. And as you say, EA Motorsport has got it all to play for tonight. Andrew proving that he is one of the better drivers out there. Of course,
I don't know if you saw that in the background. There goes a tire. Someone has just gone and put it into the wall. And it might be Alve, because he's now just gone back into the pits after putting quite a crack of a lap time there.
He's certainly back out on the track already. That was a fast repair. But looking at the times coming in so far, these guys are now putting in their first times just over 5.5 minutes to go with qualifying left here at Hockenheim. These times quite closely matched, considering it is only 1 lap that they've had so far to put times on the board. It is, as you say, Olvan coming out with a really blistering 127.7. Right behind him, Pete, 127.8, and then we're into the 128s and 129s. Right now, a little bit of competition for pole position between Fast Fossil and Sly Pete. That is Peter. You can see some fast times. Terry as well is still on his outlap by the looks of it.
So, when I did look at the time, just from the view that I had, I thought it was a 122 for Alvain, currently in second place. So now that I've just fixed up my screen, I saw 127. What we need to understand is just the difference in terms of the tiers. Is there's Pete on a 125.9. We've seen times as low as a 122.8 in the alpha tier, which we will be expecting to see a little bit later. But the thing is that in that alpha tier there are so many drivers that are so close together in those fast times. It is really going to be interesting to see who's going to bring that home.
You're absolutely right. Bravo tier, there's still lots of competition going on here though. You'll see Pete has just managed to put in a really, really quick time, 125.9, meaning that Old Lane has got it all to do. Wants to find himself back on pole with just under 4 minutes to go worth of qualifying. Seems to be taking it pretty easy on this lap, maybe warming up the tyres a little bit. He wants to put in an even faster lap by the looks of it, and in with his next round around the track. And there we go, Pierre now coming in with a 126. These times are getting faster and faster, and we will see a lot more action to come from Bravo tier here.
And just remember, the format for this evening is a 10-minute qualifier, so we've got just under 3 minutes left of this qualifier to go, and then we'll be heading off to a 40-minute race. 14 drivers still in the lobby, so that is really, really good to see. We did have, unfortunately, a retirement from the series, Rudy Bass, unable to join us from Synergy Racing. Fortunately, his ADSL causing lots and lots of problems, so he has had to withdraw. It's sad to see him go, but I'm sure he will be back once that line is up and running again.
Have a look now a bit further down the line. Terry yet to put in a time, meaning that he's at the back of the grid. And Andrew as well, he hasn't put a time in just yet. So it seems that TA Motorsport will find themselves, if they can't put themselves onto the board, the next 2.5 minutes they will find themselves at the back of the grid. And they'll have to fight their way up if they want to find themselves on the podium at the end of the 40-minute race. And that's a lot of cars, a lot of traffic to try and get through. of other cars ahead of both Terry and Andrew. I wonder if they are having some mechanical issues.
I think he might just be giving himself some clear air. He will still have time to get around and put in a fast lap. You can just hope that he is able to, but it's going to be a one-lap flyer.
But if they can cross that line in the next minute and a half, they will be able to put in a qualifying time. There is Robert. Off track. A little bit too enthusiastic there.
The secret about these cars is definitely just to find yourself a nice rhythm.
Yep.
I did spend some time in it a little bit last night. I wasn't able to put in as much of the time as I normally would, and I must say that I was really struggling to get myself to grips with the car. There's just so many little nuances on this track that you've got to be so careful of, and I just hope that these guys are able to control it better than I could.
I'm sure they will. It seems like these guys are very competitive tonight. So back into the pits now with just 30 seconds remaining on the clock of this qualifying session. The Bravo tier. A bit of smoke coming there. And wide. Running very wide.
So Sly Pete currently is the fastest, putting a 125.9. with Pierre 126.8, Colin 126.9, and then Robert 127.3. So the times are still very close here in this Bravo tier. Some messages coming through on our YouTube. Rudy is watching us, so that's really good to see. Thanks, Rudy, for joining. Pity about your line, man. We would have loved to rather have you racing than watching. Alex, I love Rough Riders. Luckily, we are referring to the racing team and not some recreational equipment. And to Marius, he's saying enjoy, guys. We will see Marius a little bit later. Him winning a back-to-back in our Group A's this past Monday. If you didn't see that, go check it out on either our Facebook or website, and you can get to go watch that crazy action. Brandon Hills, he's also just popped in. I'm sure he'll be supporting his brother in shot now. And as we say that, Vaughan goes past and puts in a 126.3, so that will put him second on the starting grid.
Blistering time right there. Seems that Terry in the pits, he is not going to get himself a time. He's going to start back. He'll have to fight his way through the 13 cars ahead of him if he wants to find himself in the winner's spot on the podium. At the end of the 40 minutes to come, we're now waiting for the last of the drivers to put in their last times. Dane here.
So that's not what I expect to see Dane further down the field. Let's just see if this is a quicker time, and he does manage to improve, but only marginally, so he will move up into 12th position.
There we have it. These are the standings as we head into main race. In first, it is Sly Pete with a time of 125.9. Vaughan Hills finds himself in second with 126.3. And in third, it is Pierre with a 126.8. Then on the lineup, you've got Colin fourth. But in fifth, Obain in sixth. Donovan in seventh.
That's
Johan
right.
in eighth.
Paul joins us from the Alpha tier. He is now in 9th place. And then Andrew, the Horn Dog, is in 10th. Let's just see the last of the positions. There's Tyler Scott in 11th place with Dane down in 12th, having just gone up one position. Philip Mayer putting in 13th. And then Terry not getting a lap in. He will start off in 14th place.
And here we are on the start line. This is not a running start. This is a standing start. We are currently waiting for the confirmation of sync from all of the drivers, all of their consoles.
So this first corner is probably one of the most important on this track, specifically coming off the start. The guys can go too wide here, and as long as they are nice and clean through the section, going into turn number 2, there's a little bit of a concertina effect, but from there it opens up, and then we head down to the hairpin down at turn number 6. There once again is where there could be massive issues. We just hope that the guys do get on the brakes a little bit earlier and we don't have a massive pile up going into that hairpin.
Well, there's always that risk of traffic when you head down to the first corner like that on a track like this, where maybe the guys get a little bit enthusiastic, over enthusiastic should I say, and they'll find themselves on perhaps the wrong end of their cars. Of course, these cars are very fragile. If you make a slight mistake, you may find yourself facing the wrong direction. You may find yourself without a front splitter. You may find yourself without front wheels. Those are all possibilities here with the Formula V8 Renaults. There is the sink. We are waiting now for those lights.
So I'm definitely going to be keeping my eye on Vaughan Hills on the inside. Will he get that jump? There's green lights and we are racing here at Hockenheim. A little bit of a slow start for Vaughan, but they will go through as we wait to see them coming through. I don't see anybody bouncing off, no tires coming off, so the guys have been very disciplined going through there, so that is really awesome to see, which means that we're going to be racing exiting out of turn number 4. It is a whoa, little spin in the background there. It is a massive run through the parabolica down towards the hairpin, turn number 6.
That was Colin getting a little bit too lovable with the petrol there by the looks of it. Have to make some places up. He has lost quite a bit of pace there. That was Cherry behind him going a little bit wide. Come right on through, sir, as it was saying. Heading back up to the front of this race. We will head down to Piers bumper cam. And there you can see hard on the brakes. Pushing it right through now, almost 200 kilometers an hour through that complex of curves, through the 2 right-handers, and then onto the main straight. Hockenheim GP, not the longest of tracks, it doesn't appear to be, from the outside. Hard on the brakes here again, dropping it right down. It is a very good-looking track nonetheless. Right down. Is he going to hit first? No need for first going through that. Quite a bit of a gap open there. Let's jump on board now. Vaughan, he is chasing the leader.
So I do see that there are some cars that have gone into the pit. So Dane, Terry, the Horn Dog, as well Tyler Scott and Paul have all gone into the pits.
Seem to be using an interesting pit strategy there to get the pit stop out of the way as soon as possible and then focus on the racing later. I can understand that strategy. It allows you to really get into the zone. You are behind the wheel. There's nothing worse than having to break your strategy and having to lose focus to do a mandatory pit stop and then trying to get back onto the ball can be quite tough for some of these guys.
So just looking at the time that these guys have been in the pits, I don't think that this was a planned pit stop. There definitely seems to be some damage being repaired there, because that is an awfully long time to be there.
They're on their way out now by the looks of it. There's invisible men working hard.
Yep, that's what happens when you wear camouflage in the pits. So it looks like Terry's gone for the tyre chains and now getting himself some damage being repaired there. But I'm still looking up front. Alvain, he's closing himself up on the rear of Pierre. Pierre currently in 3rd place. So great little battle there, and it's nice to see that Alvain is up the field. He did always say that he battles with the start and finds that he just lets places go. Where here he is really pulling in some great work, finding himself in 4th place. Whoa, a little bit of commentator's curse there. We turned in a little bit too soon, locked up those rears, went over the curb and went up the rear of Pierre. I hope this is he hasn't experienced too much damage there, because otherwise he is definitely going to be struggling with that car until his pit window is opened.
Well, you can see that his front splitter is still very much attached, and what we have seen from past experience in the past 2 rounds of the Formula V8 is that once that front splitter goes, that car is very difficult to control. That amount of front downforce generated by the splitter is crucial to the smooth operation, and these cars being as fast as they can be also makes them very, very uncontrollable. And if you have yourself with cold tires and no front splitter, you might find yourself in a wall quicker rather than slower. Let's move back up to the front of the log. It's at least 1.5 seconds clear of Vaughan Hill. One going a little bit wide.
That's Vaughan Hill. He just manages to I'd say not hit, if that's something, but he managed to come back on the track without hitting Pierre. Now Vaughan down to 5th place. He's going to have an almighty battle to move himself back up there.
He has lost 8 seconds on the leader. As you say, a big battle will have to take place there. He wants to find himself back on the podium. That means that Pierre moves up into 2nd place. And also means that Pete is now at least 4.5 seconds clear of the man who is chasing him.
Let's just jump down to 3rd place, because we've got Donovan now closing up on the back of Alvain. So that is the racing Butts versus the substitute Butts. He's going to move to the outside, now into turn number 12. Around the outside, will he have the inside? We're not able to see him because of the view. If we can just jump outside again, please, there. Steven, let's just see how close these guys are coming through turns number 15. Now out through turn number 16. Oh, some comments coming through to Vaughan here. And I'm sure that he'll be able to get away with this comment because this is blood. But Brandon's saying that was a lack of talent.
Wow. Harsh commentary coming in. But then again, Vaughan Hill has now dropped down 3 seconds behind the leader, where he was just 1.5 seconds. That gap is ever increasing, and Vaughan finds himself in the pits. I think he has done some damage to that car.
So we do have a new person that's come and joined us on the stream. It is Needy Ill at 596 saying first race for me, and he's loving it. He's missing race day. But Needy, and we're glad that you're able to come and join us. And we see that the camo guys are once again in the pits. Very, very strange to see that. But now we have Alvain still trying to recover from the mistake that he made going up against Donovan. Alvain running it a little bit wide. Managing to keep them. Yep. But I think it's all still the nerves. You must just calm down just a little bit. Find that rhythm. This track and this car is all about that rhythm.
Absolutely right. Team that isn't having a great race so far, 6 laps into the Bravo tier tonight, is TA Motorsport. Here we have Terry. He's put in a very, very good time, but he still finds himself 2 minutes behind first.
Well, definitely think there might have been just a little bit too much damage in the start there. So while we didn't get to see it, there's probably just a little bit of touching, a little bit of damage on those front wings, and unfortunately guys needing to go in and get them fixed. But there's still lots of racing action still happening all through the track.
The real battles emerging just yet, but give it a chance and you will see some interesting moves coming here. It's still quite tight between the top 4 drivers, 12 seconds between all 4 of them. And looking right down at the bottom.
I must say,
Andrew.
the Horn Dog down in 13th position.
Surprised. It's a very, very big surprise. That car wearing Namco Bandai colours.
So
very, very
it looked like that there's quite a bit of a battle happening there, but those drivers do seem like they are out of position. But if we just jump to a 5th and a 6th there, please. So Johan was actually behind Robert there, but now as we jumped, it looked like Johan was able to get past Robert. So I'm not sure whether Robert made a bit of a mistake, because there was 2 seconds in that, and that's what got my attention. But now we've seen that Johan is now pulling away from him.
These guys just space themselves out quite nicely now. With at least a 4 to 5 second gap between 3rd and 4th.
So some more messages coming through. Lendl saying that we need to just give Vaughan just a little bit of credit. He is currently using a controller, and apparently he is struggling to catch the rear once the rear steps out. So I will take my hat off to him, because I do not think I'd be able to drive this car with a controller, and I hope that is not Sly Pete that is about to disconnect. Well, there he is now once again in the front, because we remember that we had Pierre, who was leading this race at the Nürburgring, and then Pierre unfortunately disconnected, and Pete was able to bring it home and take the win.
It's all in a battle for them tonight. A little bit wide there for Pete, running over those curves. That's going to have cost him a little bit of speed.
It's not about the speed, is that is extremely dangerous to be doing that. These cars do not like the curves on this track, and what generally happens, it just grabs that rear wheel, and then you find yourself nose first into the wall on the right hand side.
Well, it certainly had an effect, apart from the danger on the gap, because Pierre has managed to close it now from 4.5 seconds to just over 2.5 seconds. So it's got a bit further down there, and there we go, coming through the hairpin. There is Pete's car directly in front. It certainly has a chance with just over 28.5 minutes remaining of this 40-minute race at the Hockenheim ring in Germany. To you live on YouTube this evening. It is the South African Racing Community Online. It is SARCO. It is the Formula V8 Challenge.
So my little session that I had yesterday, just going through turn number 7, is I was asking the guys whether the DRS is open through there, and my initial instinct is to say no, but I must say that just by getting it, the little feeling, and it's just about pointing it in as opposed to throwing it in, where generally in the GT3 cars you can throw it through there and you can go flat, but this is flat, DRS open through turn number 7, and it is absolutely a fantastic feeling.
G-force generated in this car, not entirely different from the G-force generated in a Formula 1 car. These are effectively the Formula 1 cars of old. Well, they switched over to 4-cylinder 1.6 litre motors. They did a V8 way back when, and they were small, high revving V8s as they are in these cars. As you said, delicate machines, so they require threading as opposed to hammers. It is a fine-tooth comb, not a hedge trimmer.
Can you just jump there to 9th position? I see that those times are closing up nicely. That is between Paul and Vaughan. So there's Paul with Vaughan just ahead of him by just under a second.
And this is the preeminent battle that's emerging here. And if Colin, I beg your pardon, if Dane can close that gap a little bit, being in 11th, may have a 3-way race here. It might take a little bit of effort. There's also a nice battle emerging up between 4th and 5th. Johan. It seems now Robert may have made a bit of a mistake. That gap jumped from about 1 second between them to now at least 4 seconds. You can see here now, as you activate the speedo, the kind of speeds that they carry through these turns, almost 200k an hour, as you head out of turn 15, and here's number 16, and then on to pit straight.
Yeah, once this car is hooked up and you find that grip, it really is amazing. And we've seen that the race pace here is between that 128 to a 129, but we're expecting the race pace within the alpha tier. That's going to be around about the 124s to 125.
Well, here we have the man with who appears to be the fastest lap so far. It is a very close fastest lap between him and his competitor. I beg your pardon. It's not. It is Alvain. It is not Alvain. It is Colin. Coming in with a 128. Fastest man of... No, I beg your pardon. Even faster than that is Andrew. Right down at the bottom. 128.5. Why Andrew's at the bottom is a mystery to us all. He's got a lot of work to do. It's a surprise because he has been a solid, consistent performer. Him and Terry struggling this evening to try and get themselves up the order. Are still some pit stops to come.
It looks like Alvain, he's got into the pit, so I am assuming that is a tyre change. Now that we are halfway through this race,
visible ninjas. They are waiting around and working very, very quickly on that car to move things about.
What that's telling me is that the tyres are done. There's no fuel going into the car, so that's definitely repairing damage.
Maybe Project Cars 3, maybe there will be a damage repair information that'll come out with these guys. 11 laps in so far, and there is Alvain. He's off. Out of pit lane, out of regulation. And straight back onto the throttle.
So he's actually come out behind Dane.
It's in quite nicely behind Dane. He's going to have to wait for those tyres to warm up a little bit. Hockenheim straight's not that long. There are effectively 2 of them. Look at the shape of the track. The first turn, known as the North Curve, can go almost flat through there.
Yeah, I tried going flat.
250k an hour in these guys.
I tried going flat through there. It doesn't quite work. There's definitely just a little lift. I was changing the gear down, helped the nose turn in, and then straight back on the power. But you don't know whether you're going to hit the curb on the outside or not. If you do, man, it ended badly for me on a good couple of occasions.
Quite right. So our race leader with a 1 minute 30 being his last time. Well, it's a bit of a gap. Pierre's managed to close that gap. He needs to keep applying that pressure to Pete. You will find that Pete will feel that pressure to the extent he could make a mistake, allowing Pierre to pass him by. And Donovan as well, not far behind. We may find in the last 22 minutes of this race is a 3-way battle emerging for first place. But only if Donovan himself back up there. All 3 cars there, first, second and third in shot. They go around first corner, back onto the petrol. And I hit about 250k an hour down the straight. Out on the brakes into that tight right-hand corner. A little chicane and then back onto another long, straight-ish second. As I would say on the ground to the isn't straight. Still allowing those cars to pick up an enormous amount of speed, and then out onto the brakes as they come into hairpin number 6. He's dropping right down into first gear. Into the power. Somebody is going off track there.
That is one of the Racing Brits cars, so that might be Vaughan that's gone off there.
Indeed it was.
Yes, indeed it was. So we need to get Vaughan to fast track this wheel. Now that I know he's driving on a controller, he definitely, I'm sure, would be going a lot faster. But now, an interesting thing is starting to emerge. That is exactly what I'm looking at. It is the two Rough Riders. They are closely chasing each other. Pierre managing to close this gap now up onto Sly Pete. So these two are effectively racing against each other.
Yes.
Because if we look at the current positions, in terms of the standings, is that Pierre, with him disconnecting, he lost out on a 60-point win there. So if we had given that win to him and taken the 10 points away from Peter, and they would have been tied with both having a win and both having a second.
All to play for tonight for Pierre. It's interesting now is looking at that gap between first, second and third. It appears as though Pete might have been a bit slow.
And there's Donovan in the background, so he's also starting to close up on these guys. So I'm not sure what's happening, but the two in the front are definitely slowing down. You can see 130s there, and Donovan doing a 129. So he is starting to close up on the front.
It's possible you can see traffic in front. Don't know who that is in front of Pete.
So that would be Tyler, because I'm looking, Robert, he's gone into the pits.
Well, I could be holding things up there a little bit, which would allow Donovan and Pierre to close that gap. It does.
Oh, Pete making a big mistake there. He decides to rather make a late entry into the pits. But now the question is, will his teammate be able to take advantage of that and go into the pits, put in a quicker lap time, and then get himself ahead of his teammate? And then we have Donovan, who is currently in second place now. He's closed up. He's within, I was just going to say 1.5 seconds, but it's now just opened up ever so slightly. But that means that there definitely is going to be a three-way race here. And as I mentioned in one of my streams a couple of months ago, it was a slip of the tongue, and for some reason I said it's going to be a three-way horse.
Ah, yes. Three-way horse.
So we can just jump to the outside. I just want to see what's happening with Donovan. So there's Donovan. Oh, we can see that time between Donovan and Pierre, it's now almost up to the 3-second mark again. So I'm not sure whether Pierre has I just seen a message coming up by Ross, and he's now trying to twist my words. No, it is not that, Ross, that's for sure.
Let's move a bit further down the order. I am seeing something emerging here between the battle for seventh between Robert and Vaughan. Oh, no.
Is that commentator's curse? How often do we see that? Sorry, Robert.
It's not my fault. You can blame Dylan. It's fine. It's not my fault. He said it's all in. He told me to do it.
So that now allows Vaughan to move himself up an additional place. So Vaughan now goes up into 7th.
Fighting his way back. He's still a long way behind this place where he was. Chasing first a little bit earlier. And an unfortunate adventure with the loud pedal meant that he dropped down to 8th. And that gap just started to open and open and open wider than the Grand Canyon. Got himself down to a 30-second lag on time between him and first. But yeah, that is that Robert?
That is Robert, yes indeed. Just outbraking himself there, going into turn number 6 at the hairpin. So just 16 minutes left of this race, and I'm seeing Sly Pete is 29 seconds behind Pierre. So the question is, when will Pierre go in, and has he got enough of a gap to get himself ahead of Pete?
Gonna have to work hard. There he is. Pete is finding himself in the pit lane now.
No, there's Pete. It is Pierre that's now gone into the pit. So it's all depending now.
It's going to be an unlikely one. I don't think he's going to be able to do it. I don't think Pierre is going to emerge from those pits in time to meet
Pete.
Let's see. Meet Pete, exactly. And there we go on to turn 16. If Pierre finds
let's just jump to Pierre. Where is Pierre in all of this? There he starts. He's leaving the pits, but he
there we go.
has missed it.
It's a pity. It's a real pity for Pierre. There we go. In the foreground of that shot was Sly going round to number 2.
So the Horn Dog and Alvain in the pits once again. So he's having an absolute torrid time. But now I'm seeing that we have Colin, who's now up there into 3rd position. And if they are out of sync, I do believe that Colin would need to pit, because Donovan is ahead of him. And Donovan was just behind Pierre. So I'm assuming that Colin would still need to pit.
It seems that we're looking a bit further down the order here. There is a battle for 7th and 8th. Hun and Robert. I know that gap is now widening. Had some trouble there. Robert moving further down the order. There was a nice battle there. I reckon Robert actually had some issues.
So 3 seconds separating 3rd and 4th place. Oh, there's Johan VDV. He's currently in 7th place, having a 1:58. So that would have been his pit stop. But he has been doing pretty well here. He's kept himself out of trouble, which is really good to see. And as we see, he goes past. He's now up into 6th place. So that is Alvain behind him, out of position. So these guys will not be fighting for position here. Tyler Scott, he's currently in the pits, and he's going to have his teammate Robert closing up on him at a rapid rate. Well, that's just changed that, because now Robert's gone into the pits. Great exit there for Johan, nice and smooth through the hairpin.
We look here at the gap between Donovan and Vaughan. At least 24 seconds there. The top 4 is where the action is right now, even though Donovan still finds himself 40 seconds behind Pete, having gone through his. There we go, that's a good sound. That's what we need. It is all about the suspense here tonight.
Ooh, little luck up there for Johan.
Find himself moving up the order. Let's move over to the Donovan's car right now. There he is. He's in front of Donovan. That appears to be one.
Oh, a little touch on the wheels. This is going to be bad. Oh my goodness, what is going on here?
Lag, I suspect. That is lag. I hope it's his lag. Otherwise, those guys.
So that was one of the TA Motorsport drivers. So it was either Terry or the Horn Dog, but having a little bit of a coming together. And that was Donovan disconnecting, which now makes sense as to what happened there. But now we've also lost another driver.
Seems that we
lost Terry. We lost Terry and we lost Donovan.
Down to 11 drivers.
So I'm assuming it was the coming together of those two that the game couldn't figure out where they needed to be, and it just kicked them both.
Now, sometimes the game's logic is not always that understandable.
So that was very unfortunate there to have both
He's not.
Donovan and Terry kicked out. And as mentioned, oh, there goes Vaughan. Just managing to keep it
He's
off
trying to
the
go
wall.
into the pit by the looks of it. And he used up. No, he's back onto the main circuit. A lot of guys struggling with lag here tonight. And other internet issues. As you heard, Rudy Base unable to join the racing because of trouble with his ADSL line.
Oh, there
no,
goes.
who's that?
That was Sly Pete into the wall, going through turn number 1.
It's him minus a wheel. Oh dear.
So
That
he
is
will
a
be able
disaster
to.
for him.
He will be able to nurse that car home, but I do believe that he is going to be losing way too much time here.
Absolute disaster for the race leader. Now you can see that gap opening. 127, 128, 129.
The thing is that he's going to be over revving that car so much, it's not going to be turning. And the damage he's going to be doing to his engine is also going to be very, very much. Because now the car's not cooling, it's getting hot. Absolute disaster there for Pete.
Seems that the scores may even themselves out yet. There we go. Pete now dropping down into third. And that doesn't even take into account the fact that he still needs to go around the hairpin and nurse the car back to the pits and then have the damage repaired. That's going to take quite some time. I found Star Pete dropping down to perhaps 7th or even 8th.
Yeah, that is definitely not what Pete would have wanted. But I think let's go back to that racing action because we've got Vaughan closing up on Johan. Oh, a little bit of weaving in the background there. That
Vaughan, I
car,
wonder what's going on there.
that car is definitely not looking good.
Happy. Not happy at all.
There's
It's
Pete's
pulling.
wheel still in the middle of the road there.
Oh, there it is. A little bit too much.
So Vaughan definitely struggling with some damage there. So Pierre, he's currently leading after a massive off by Sly Pete going into turn number 1. And I have said it before, he touched that inside wall and that was that.
It's can find 19 seconds somewhere between now and 8 minutes from now. It seems that Pierre is a shoo-in for the tallest spot on the podium tonight in the Bravo tier. Right here on SARCO. You're in the commentary box with myself, Steven Darge, and my co-commentator, the founder of SARCO, Dylan Hall. And you are watching the Formula V8 League. These cars powered by Renault V8 motors, 3.5 litre V8 motors.
Also messages coming up on the YouTube channel saying that he was doing so well, and yes he was, but all of that, what a waste. And absolutely crazy to see that, just that little slip, and that is the end of his race. Well, Pete is still currently in 4th place, and we have seen Vaughan, so Vaughan's looks like he might be coming to the pit, so there might be another place here that Pete's able to hang on to. But it's all depending on whether Dane and Tyler Scott are able to close up while he's having these pits, that this might change the whole dynamic of the race once again.
Certainly has some work to do if he wants to catch up there. It is more. There we go. There we are. That is Dane. Has gone past Sly Pete, rather, should I say.
So
Still having that damage repaired, that's quite some significant damage that car has sustained, meaning it needs to spend an extended period of time. There we go. Back out.
please correct me if I was wrong, but it looked like Dane didn't have a front wing there.
Let's see. I think your eyes deceive you.
No, look, he doesn't have a
Oh, no,
front
look
wing.
at that. You're quite right.
So I wonder if he's just going to try and nurse this car home for the next couple of laps. Because he does have over 25 seconds on the 5th place Pete, so it could very well be.
Well, Scott fighting for it back there as well. 30 seconds behind Dane. Sure, that's for sure. Right now, it will take too long for him to head back into the pits and have a new splitter placed onto that car.
So
and other damage repaired.
The interesting thing is that as long as there's no mechanical damage, so nothing wrong with the suspension or engine damage, and you're putting just the front wing, that front wing does go on fairly quickly compared to fixing suspension.
That's good. I don't know if Dan's going to take that chance.
No, 100% with 5 minutes to go. That's going to be just over 3 laps. I wouldn't pit either.
Looking at the time the guys are now putting in, they were 128 earlier. Here it seems to have slowed down by 2 seconds, as has Colin and Johan.
You can see a 3-minute lap there for Pete. That just shows you how long he was in the pits for.
Yeah, exactly. It's still a 128 on the board, and it's coming from Andrew. A long way down the list. Cars will be lapping each other now. Alvain, having had, as you said, a horrible time here. Back of the order, 4 minutes behind Pierre up in first. That is 2 laps. 2 and a bit laps, should I say. Almost 3.
So just under 5 minutes to go of this Bravo tier, and then we'll head into the Alpha tier. And that is going to be some crazy racing, I can tell you that.
Well, we've got a lot of drivers lined up there. Those guys will be in their lobby right now, preparing their cars. Using the right setups, pit strategies, etc. Hide there for Alvain. Having issues controlling that car tonight. It's not his night. Almost having put in quite a long time. He has probably just come out the pits with a 232. That tells me he's come out the pits. Finding himself pretty solid there, middle of that order of the grid as it stands right at this point. And we'll move up to Colin. 17 seconds between him and Pierre. Sounds to me like too much time to make up in just over 2 laps. Unless Pierre has a big off.
Well, just looking at those lap times, I would assume that Piers just wants to take this win. He's going to take it now nice and easy. And by all means, there's nothing for him to prove now. All he needs to do is just bring it home and go and bank those points.
As you said, that will then even out the standings a bit. With Pete having taken the win last week because of Pierre's disconnection, Pierre will find himself heading back up the rankings. And poor Pete finding himself back down into 4th. He'll be fighting as hard as he can to get himself onto the podium. I doubt Johan is going to let that happen.
No, Johan has actually had a really good race. He was nice and clean. He was driving well, kept himself out of any sort of nonsense. And here are the results. Nice consistent lap times, and he's put himself into 3rd position. So I must say a really good result for Dayco Racing once again. That is now going to move them up ahead of the Rough Riders too. So this championship is definitely getting extremely close up at the top.
One we haven't paid much attention to tonight. Why? Been a solid performer. Rainmeister.
So Paul has been very, very consistent in the back there as well. Also kept himself clean. We haven't seen much of him, but I think that's what happens, is that if you stay out of trouble, you don't get into too many battles, we don't quite notice you. So apologies, Paul, but a great solid effort there for you.
So see, the penalties haven't been handed out.
Yeah, so there are going to be some penalties. We can see the little red blocks on the driver's numbers.
This penalty is going to Pete and Tyler Scott. Do you believe Rainmaster? Yeah, I beg your pardon. Paul finds himself without a penalty. Vaughan Hill has one, and so does Andrew.
So 127.4 for Andrew. So he is currently the fastest so far. So I'm sure he'll be kicking himself. He had the pace to be up there for the win, but a very, very tricky start.
Just under 30 seconds remaining of this endurance. Fear, nothing to fear right now, and I rhyme every time.
So that is...
He's going to do one more lap. He's 200 laps.
One more lap.
One more lap.
He managed to get in there with about 17 seconds or so to spare. So for the guys that are going to be racing next in that Alpha tier, just make sure you are in that lobby. We will be there shortly.
It is. That is the end of the race. These guys, all they need to do now is cross the finish line.
It's a very, very cautious exit there for Pierre. So I'm not trying to be too smart to take any risks. It's just about bringing it home now. But there's still a battle there for 6th and 7th place, because Pete's now dropped down to 7th. Vaughan Hills is now up into 6th.
Seconds. I think
Pete is without a wheel once again.
Oh no!
So
double whammy in this race.
Absolute nightmare for Pete.
Yes, it was.
So
the right-hand side wheel now. It's the front left. Oh, that car's struggling. It's the front left-hand side wheel. It's a big, very, very big pity for Pete with this race. Oh, they fall from glory. I think they will certainly be looking to come back with a vengeance next week. Yeah, the brake rotor still turning just in case it needs to. It's going to brake though? Nothing.
ooh, that was nearly a spin.
Yeah, I think he's fed up.
Don't go in the pits. Don't go in the pits. Just cross the line, Pete. Take your 8th place and run with it.
Here he is. It's the line. It's straight off the track. Directly into the pits. Here is the winner of the Bravo tier tonight. I'm looking at 8 laps. And dusted.
And there come our invites. So it looks like the Alpha tier is ready for us. So while we just rounding off this, we just can give the notice to the guys in the lobby to come and join us in the commentary box while we do the transition across. And there you have it, the final results for the Alpha Bravo tier, excuse me. Pierre comes home in first place with Colin in second. Johan VDV in third place with Tyler Scott in fourth. Dane manages to bring home that car with just under 10 minutes to go with no front wing. Vaughan manages to get himself a sixth after being all over the road with a couple of spins. Paul finishes in 7th place with Robert in 8th. The Horndog comes home in 9th with Sly Pete in 10th. Very disappointing, crashing out, being in 1st position. And Alvain comes home in 11th place.
Very good racing there from the Bravo drivers tonight. They are. Welcome, Pierre. Welcome, Colin. That was really
Pete, unlucky, man. You were going well.
It seems that it was a combination of luck and skill for you
What
to get yourself up in 1st place.
On your lonesome.
Yeah, look, it's more than luck. I mean,
it's
everybody was just crashing off, and I just thought to myself, I'm just going to keep it in the black stuff. I started driving a lot slower, and I just kept it clean as much as possible, and just took it home. Yeah, it was a silly race, though.
So
congratulations on the win.
So Pierre, just a message from our side.
much.
To see your teammate go off into the wall like that, obviously your heart must sink knowing that he was leading with a teammate, but did you want that win?
No, look, Pete was faster than me for the whole session so far. So when he was in front of me, I actually just said to him, I said, just keep it on the track. I started, just driving behind him, and and then unfortunately he lost it. I drove by. I mean, there was nothing I could do, but a win is a win, I suppose. Even if it gets handed to you.
No, 100%.
Absolutely. It's the victory.
And then to you,
Yeah, it's a
Colin.
victory. But I think we all battled on the track. It was also, it was like the track wasn't the same. We couldn't get the power down properly. The turn-ins was really bad. But other than that, I'm just grateful for the points.
No, awesome. And then to you, Colin, a great drive for you, kept your nose clean, and you brought it home.
Yeah, I did. Let's call it luck. A couple of guys had fortune. Call it a coconut race. But I can get.
So we seem to have lost Colin there, so apologies for that, guys. But Pierre, thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you back on Monday.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm going to go and watch the main race. Let's see what happens.
Cool, awesome. Thank
Cheers,
you so
guys.
much.
Cheers.
All the best.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
You have it hearing from the men who were first and second. We're going to swap over now to lobby 4.
So I was just seeing that I was just having a little bit of a clashing issue there with Ronaldo, so I thought let me just go out and come back in, and then hopefully we're able to get going. So there we go, and no more clashing from Ronaldo, so that is fantastic. We can definitely accept that there. No, we are still clashing with Ronaldo.
Just joining us this evening, a very warm welcome to you. You are live with us right here on YouTube, streaming live from Johannesburg, South Africa. This is SARCO. This is the South African Racing Community Online. This is Formula V8 Racing, powered by VX Gaming, NASCOM, and Deliver Your Parcel, proud sponsors of SARCO's leagues. This is Thursday night racing. We do, of course, host Monday night racing as well. That is Group A. Some excellent racing has been happening on the past few Mondays and Thursdays. This is round number 3. We are at Hockenheim. We are at the Grand Prix circuit, Germany.
Alright guys, I am no longer clashing with Ronaldo. If I could just get my invite to sort out my broadcasting, we can get those thumbs up and let's go racing. It is sorted, I am good. So thank you very much guys, we are round number 3. Just be cautious. As you can see from the Bravo tier, there were just a couple of little incidents there through turn number 1, and we don't want to repeat of any of that, so let's keep it nice and clean.
Bravo tier, 1 o'clock in the afternoon on this 4.5 kilometer long track. 16 turns and some real nice opportunities to get some good speed going through these corners. There, the hairpin, turn number 6. Hard on the brakes coming out of those curves. To navigate your car around there, typically first gear stuff. Onto the power. Heading down to turn number 7. Out of the pits. Ross on his way, warming up his tyres already.
Yeah, so what we're going to see is the guys are going to be trying to get out as soon as possible, get in as many laps, because the pace is going to be absolutely fantastic here. While they are going around, let's just see if we can't get the current positions up. So we see that Christopher Radloff, he currently leads this championship 14 points clear of Brandon. Brandon racing full racing boots in the brother to Vaughan. Then Jake's from the Green Numbers, so 2 Green Numbers up on the podium. That's my team, that's my boys. Ashley from NASCON, proud sponsor of our website. Thank you so much, Ashley. He's currently in 4th place with Ruby's Finest, Craig and Connor. They're in 5th and 6th respectively. Craig unfortunately not able to join us this evening, so we do hope that he is at home and able to watch us. In terms of the points, the Green Numbers ahead by just about 86 points. No. Yes. 94 points. 94 points.
Quite a big gap.
Which is quite a big gap, but then Ruby's Finest in 2nd place with Racing Boots in 3rd, NASCON in 5th place, and you see how close it is from there further down. Some of the drivers only having the one driver, so it is a little bit of an unfair advantage to them. Ooh, Ross very aggressive, and that's the problem with that curve. So a message here from Johan VDV, he went P3 baby, very happy. Unfortunately didn't get him in the chats quick enough, but that's okay. We're glad that he's happy with that. We did say he drove a very good race, so Johan, well done. Congratulations on your podium. So the guys that we're going to be looking out for this evening, we know that Gavin, he was really quick around the Nürburgring until losing it out of the last corner. Him and Morris were having a great battle. We know that Morris here is down in the 122s. We know that Jakes is in the 122s. We know that Christopher is in the 122s, as well as Lendl and Brandon in the 122s. So there are 5 drivers that are able to get that qualifying time down to a 122. It is going to be an absolute cracker.
Yeah, the Alpha tier is where a lot of the action is tonight. A lot of the drivers in the Bravo tier already told us that they are going to be switching over to the YouTube stream to see what happens in the Alpha tier. 6 3/4 minutes remaining of this qualifying session. Times are starting to come up onto the board now. There we are. Tipper finding himself up on pole with a staggering 122. Now, it just gives you an idea about how much faster the Bravo tier guys are compared to the Alpha tier guys are compared to the Bravo. about 128, 127 during qualifying. Christopher on his first lap out of the pits, coming in at least 5 seconds faster. That is staggering. Back into the pits. They're not going to waste their time on laps where there is no need, and they're not going to have a great time on that lap. They'll just switch back straight to the pits, get themselves back out there. Arias in second, the far. But it is Brandon that finds himself in second, 123.
So just saw a message. I just seen a message from Johan saying that my microphone is very low. I hope that's better as Marius manages to just keep it off the wall there. And you can see these guys committing into turn number 1. That is fantastic to see. It looks like Marius might just be stopping that, go back into the pits and give it one more go. But so far only 122.
Work to do if they want to find themselves moving up towards pole position. Ash here on screen now. The 125. The car looks good in those colours. Changing blue by the looks of it. Oh, who still needs to put a time on the board? That is Ross. That is Alexander.
And Gavin.
Gavin, yeah. They've still got some time. 4 minutes to go. It's 2 laps there.
So Vaughan coming through on the YouTube channel saying racing boots for the win. So we know exactly who Vaughan's going to be shouting for, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, you know what? Is that these guys, they rely on the support that comes through from the YouTube channel. Every bit of support counts.
See Gavin in the background there just trying to get some heat into those tires, because he's probably going to have 2 laps to get a time in, and he's going to have Ashley in front of him. I'm assuming he's going to just let Ashley go a little bit further down the track, give himself some space, and then he will have a clear run to get some good solid times in. He's only going to be able to get about 2 laps in, so he's going to have to start hurrying up.
Is Christopher still in front with us with a really quick time, 122. Earlier, a 121 is certainly possible on this track in the Alpha tier. Whether these guys will be able to get that 121 on the board is a different story altogether though.
So I'm seeing Jake's down in 6th place, so I thought he would be a little bit higher. There's Lendl. Oh, Jake's, as we say that, Jake's puts himself up into 4th place. Lendl for the Racing Boots. He unfortunately was disconnecting last week, so wasn't able to race with us, but we do see that he is here. It's really great to see him. Ross in 6th place with Ronaldo in 7th. That's Connor in 8th. The Yugi's finest, him taking the rest of the guys on his own. Gavin, the substitute boot, is in 9th place. So he hasn't found his rhythm just yet, and still not seeing many of those 22s coming. We are hoping that they'll start popping up as we get to the end of the session. Some messages coming from Pete saying, watch out for the Rough Riders, they might have a trick in the bag. And that trick in his eyes is finishing with all 4 wheels. It's nice for Pete to come and join us and have a little bit of a laugh there. Really, really cool to see. So Morris goes second quickest on a 123.4, just managing to get himself ahead of Brandon, who was on that 123.6. So Brandon now going quicker. Once again, he now puts himself into second place again. So that's Ronaldo down in 8th place, so he'll be able to get another lap in. Morris is also going to have another go with Ross, Gavin, Steven. Oh, little mistake there for Ronaldo. He's probably going to retire to pits. No point trying to continue after that. I just want to thank my Moshari who brought me some water, because now this is the opportune moment that I can have a sip. Just clear out the dry mouth syndrome. Nope, that's not going to do it. You can hear Morris wasn't quite right going through there, so he's now retired to pits. But Christopher's still on a lap. Ross is on a lap. Gavin's still on a lap. No, so that is the end of Ross's session, so he will come back in. And that was Christopher, who has just gone past, so I'm not sure how he's still managed to be on the track. And in shot, that is Sean van der Linde. He's down in 14th place with a 129.7. A little bit off the pace here this evening, but it might just be his qualifying. So we can just jump to Christopher at the top there. We just want to see where he is on track. There's only 45 seconds left of the session before we go into that 40-minute race. So that is the final lineup. Christopher in first place with Brandon second. Gavin manages to put himself into third place. So that is a great performance there for him. Morris in fourth with Lendl in fifth. Ross is in sixth. Jake's down in seventh place with Ronaldo eighth. AD, who's actually Connor, in ninth. We then have Steven in 10th. Ashley dropping down to 11th place. Marshall's in 12th. Then Alex in 13th place. And Sean, he finds himself in 14th. So now we wait for the syncing of the lobby. And I think, Stephen, if you just jump on maybe onto like 5th place, so we'll be able to see maybe like 7 cars or so go through that turn number 1, just to see if there is any contact or anyone touching. But I do believe these guys would have been practicing these starts. They'll know where the cars could possibly be. Pete just saying on the stream that these are some serious lap times, and that's exactly why they're in the Alpha tier there, Pete. Some more support coming through for the Racing Butts, 2nd, 3rd and 5th. So definitely putting the other guys in a bit of pressure. It's going to be a really interesting race. That was what we're waiting for. We'll get the syncing confirmation right there. So just drop down to about 5th place for us, please there, Stephen. So it is green lights and we are racing here at the Hockenheim. So Christopher's had an absolute blinder of a start going through turn number 1, just about by himself. Some guys running a little bit wide. There's a little bit of a touch there. That was Ashley. There's contact in the back. So that was Lendl getting some contact. A little spin in the background. That's Marshall up into the wall. So he would have had some damage. But Christopher, he's away with Brandon in second place. Morris is third. Gavin is fourth. Ross is fifth. Alex down in sixth. Ronaldo, he's up to seventh. Jake in ninth place. Lendl, he was further up the field. He's now down to ninth. Sean starting at the bottom. He's now moved himself up the order. So Sean from 14th. He's now in 10th. Ashley in 11th with Steven down in 12th place. There he is. Lots and lots of damage on that car. Well, this is the race up front, and Marius has been able to get himself ahead of Brandon. On board with Brandon as they head towards turn number 12. Christopher starting to open up 1.5 second gap between the race that we're currently watching. Oh, Brandon very close on the rear of Morris coming out of turn number 16. So we hear a little change down for Brandon, back on the power. And I'm just wondering whether he would have put on that DRS as he came out there. But now this is definitely an overtaking opportunity. Morris sliding that car into turn number 2, but managing to get a really good exit. And just behind Brandon, we have Gavin. With Christopher going through turn number 6 at the hairpin. You can see how close second, third and fourth are. There's Ross in the background. Right behind him, here's Alex. Jake's still in 7th place, but some drivers going into pit. Steven hanging on in there, so he's managed to get himself into the pits with Marshall as well. And it does seem like we have lost 2 drivers, so Lendl is no longer in the lobby. And I'm just not able to place that last driver who's left. But Christopher starting to run away with the race here. But all the action currently happening in a 2nd, 3rd and 4th place. Another driver that's now gone. So that's Steven, who's now left the race. Possibly going to the pits and not having that damage fixed. So if we can just jump down to a 3rd place there, please, Steven. Steven, come in, Steven. Can you hear me? So I am watching those times. Oh, that was Brandon trying to have a little look on the inside of Marius. And a nice little battle building in the background there as well. That is between Alex and Ross. Now, very close there through turn number 8. But Brandon very much in control of the car, trying to close that gap up on Morris ahead of him. And just behind Brandon is Gavin within 1 second, so he too very much in this fight. And while these guys are battling, you can see Christopher starting to open up a gap ahead, but really, really great racing between these 3. Steven, you can just jump track side, please. I just want to be able to see what Gavin is doing in this battle as well. Morris up on the curb. That's allowed Brandon to move to the inside. So he will definitely have the run going down into turn number 2. Nice and tight line there for Brandon. But I'm not sure whether Morris was on the inside. No, he wasn't. Brandon just securing that line. The DRS open, coming down through the parabolica now. Morris now trying to go around the outside, but Morris will have the inside now to turn number 6. Side by side, Morris is a little bit deep. Well, there comes Gavin, but they managed to stay away from each other. Really, really great racing there from these 3. You can see DRS open, going through turn number 7. Marius is a little bit squirrely. Looks like Brandon will go around the outside through turn number 8. That's absolutely fantastic. He will have to let Marius go there side by side through turn 10. Great awareness there. But now we have Gavin. He's now looking to the inside. Marius will go around the outside of Brandon going into turn number 10. And all that's happening, these guys are slowing each other down. And the drivers behind, which is Ross and Alex, are now starting to close up. Marius is wide. Brandon moves to the inside through turn and number 16. And there's Ross back in this fight. So 4 drivers within just about 1.5 seconds. And there goes Marius touching that outside curb. He's stuck in the middle of the road. Avoidance coming in there. Marius must try not create any issues. Moves off the track. For a moment there, my heart was pounding. I had visions of 2 cars coming through there. But fortunately enough, the guys were able to possibly see the smoke. And they managed to avoid him. But a great, great set of action there. But there's the battle now for 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th place. So Jake's now the quickest out of that little battle of 4 drivers. So he now too will be closing up. But Brandon finds himself in the 2nd with Gavin in the 3rd. Ross is now in 4th. A little mistake there from Marius, pushing extremely hard. Touching that curb going through turn number 1. Spinning it around. And I'm not sure how, but he managed to stay out of trouble. And no other drivers landed up hitting him.
Hello, I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. I'm not sure whether you saw all that crazy action, but man, oh man.
I did. Wow. Well, it was a massive drop for poor Marius. All the way down from 3rd down to 9th. What a big disappointment there.
So he's just going to have to get his head down, put in those laps. We know that he has that pace. And he's going to be able to start moving himself up the places and possibly recover a 6th.
Maybe.
A little message here from Peter saying, ouch, that dreaded curb after turn 1. Well, Pete, you learned that firsthand. I have mentioned it through the entire broadcast so far that you've got to stay off that. And even somebody of the caliber of Marius' skills, he put it on the curb, and that was the end of that rear.
Great pity for Marius, but there is still a chance. There is still a lot of time left, just over half an hour.
Now you can start seeing how those times are starting to drop. Christopher now in the 24s consistently. And now that Brandon is not fighting and chasing Marius, he now too 125.1. Let's see when he crosses that line. 125.6, 125.2 for Gavin. Ross in the background there in the 4th place. And I see we are now down to 10 drivers.
I've lost somebody. I'm trying to work out who it is.
So I know that we have lost Steven.
Steven disappeared.
Marshall is still there. We have lost Connor.
X is still around as well. It appears that Sean is still racing.
Sean is still there.
Alexander is gone, but no, Alexander's still racing too. Who have we lost? We've lost Lendl, I can see that.
Yeah, so Lendl was one of the ones to go first. That was possibly after turn number 1. It is Alex.
We've lost Marius.
That is true. So we have lost Alex, Marius, Lendl, and Steven.
That fracas up at turn number 1 really did mess things up for a number of those drivers. Great big pity though.
So that is Marshall getting very out of the way there from Brandon. Gavin will follow him through. So So Brandon doing back-to-back 125.6s. Gavin a 126.0 and Ross a 126.2. So it looks like the guys are now starting to find that rhythm.
Absolutely. Still a little bit of some rivalry happening there between second and third.
Well, thank you, Pete, for the correction. Alex is still there. Alex is in 5th place. So I see Ashley starting to close up on the back of Ronaldo. Ooh, that was very close.
Very hectic from Jake. That was an interesting try, an interesting attempt in an overtaking maneuver, perhaps.
Oh, there's Jake's.
And he's lost his wheel. That's wow, that wheel providing some debris for.
And I think what happened there, Jake's was following Alex through there. You can see his DRS is still open, but now with absolutely having no downforce through there, that rear just let go, and that put Jake's into that wall.
A pity for X as well. He was doing very, very well. He has still got a chance to move back up the order, but that means it depends on how fast he can get himself back to the pits, how fast he can get that car repaired. That is significant damage, having lost the front right side wheel. The car will be trying to pull off to that side where it is missing that wheel. There. That is not a car, that is a tricycle.
And you can just see how sensitive these cars are and the impact of the downforce. And I don't think Jake's kind of understood, not that he didn't understand, but it's possibly not practiced enough going through there at that speed. Probably flicked it in just a little bit too aggressively, and the rear just couldn't catch up.
Luckily, we have still got a bumper cam. See what the Invisibles are doing. That wheel coming back on now. Damage being repaired in the background.
So I'm just having a look at the time. We can just jump there to Ashley, because him and Ronaldo are very, very close together. So Ronaldo looking for a way to get around Ashley, coming through turn number 15, now into turn number 16. Let's see, will he open that DRS down the main straight? Yes, he does. It all depends whether he just touches that brake, keeps the DRS. No, there we go, the DRS went off. So I would have put that DRS straight back now into turn number 2. Ashley's going a bit sideways.
Oh.
So Ashley is now gone off. That's going to allow Ronaldo to get up into 6th place. Ashley managing to catch the slide.
Not too much time lost. It is still a possibility. Ash will have to be really on it. Make up that gap over there. I can tell you right now, Ronaldo will be very acutely aware of the fact that Ashley's got it all to do, and will be trying to come back with a vengeance. No doubt about that. In the meantime, let's see what's going on here between 4th and 5th. Gavin and Ross. That gap is 3 seconds. Ross will be trying whatever he can to try and close it.
Ross now in those 125s.
5 minutes remaining. Still a long time to go. These guys can still execute their strategies, and a number of them still need to make their mandatory pit stops.
So message coming through from Mario saying sorry for retiring, but he landed up totaling his car. He had damage from a little touch at the beginning. He tried to manage, but unfortunately that didn't work. So sorry to see that, Morris. There was a great battle that you had going on there between yourself, Brandon, and Gavin, and really unfortunate to see, but we're looking forward to seeing you at the next race.
Good luck next time. Good luck next time. But that is the world of online racing. These things do happen. And they can happen anywhere, anytime. So, onwards with the racing.
Ooh, Ross a little bit wide there into turn number into turn 12. That was pretty scary. For a second there, I thought he might get himself off the track and pull a shimmy. Yes, shimmy, listen to me. I was looking at the red car and pull a Vettel as he did in the rain 2 years ago.
We all know which F1 driver you're missing.
Yeah. Oh well.
He's the guy in front.
Race leader Christopher just on 12 seconds that he's now pulled over the second place Brandon. And Brandon's starting to open a gap between himself and his stable partner Gavin, racing for the substitute puts, all part of the same racing team. And Ross seems to be closing up that gap just a little bit onto Gavin, because now they are within 2.5 seconds of each other. So Ross now being able to see the drive in front of him, and generally that allows you to go a little bit quicker. Just start seeing where your opponent is making some mistakes. You're able to capitalize from them. You see Ross staying very well off that curve. Very late entry for Ross going into turn number 12.
I have work to do though. Try and even close that gap up on Brandon, who is also sitting quite happy.
So that's just on 4 seconds that Brandon has over Gavin. But now Ross 0.2 of a second quicker than Gavin that time round, so he is closing, and he will be knowing, he will obviously have the times up in his HUD, knowing that he is starting to close up. And once you just get just that little hint of that you're catching, that's when things start going your way.
Absolutely right. It's that pressure that the driver in front starts to feel once again. That is a real thought, because once you've got that pressure, it's difficult to shake it off. Actively think about another topic. It still sits in the back of your mind. It's still an impact.
So see Alex, he went into the pits as well as Sean. And I'm looking at the Ronaldo and Ashley battle, and Ashley's starting to close that gap back up onto Ronaldo.
Time. Seconds away. There you go. You can see it in the shot. They will be feeling that. They'll be feeling the fact that Ashley is bearing down on him. Some interesting pit strategies at play here. If these guys haven't crashed their cars, they'll have to go into the pits anyway. There is, of course, a mandatory pit stop. What happens if these guys don't pit? Well, the average pit time gets added on to their finishing time, which means it's effectively a long penalty. And they could find themselves being impacted in a big way when it comes to the final standings.
Well, we are quite fortunate here that the guys are aware that they do need to pit. Whoa, Ross getting very, very tail happy. But you can see that the lap times there between himself and Gavin. Gavin a 126.1, Ross 125.4. So he's managed to close up an additional 0.7.
Just over 2 seconds between Gavin and Ross.
So yes, Vaughan, there's still 20 minutes to go. You're able to go and pour yourself another glass of fermented grapes, and you can come and join us. So Christopher in the pits, which means that Brandon will be the new race leader. Gavin, he's decided to go into the pits, which now releases Ross ahead of him. Now Ross needs to go and put in a absolute blinder, and he just might get himself ahead of Gavin coming out of the pits.
Is that going to be consistent though? Will he be able to maintain that lead despite the fact that Ross will need to go into the pit a little bit later? Now is the chance for Ross to really open that gap. Focus on racing.
So here's something interesting I've just seen, Steven, is that looking at Gavin, he's got a little red tick on his name. What I think has now happened is he's given himself a time penalty, speeding going into the pits.
That's a pity.
So that's definitely going to have an impact.
Pity. It's a real big pity, because that means that Gavin's going to have to work even harder to get himself further up the order, considering that he has got a penalty to his name. Alright, there's still some time. 18.5 minutes to go.
So there, Brandon, he decides that now's the time for him to go into the pits. Ross, he too goes into the pits. So where will Gavin end up?
Yeah.
So Christopher comes around turn number 16, so he will retake the lead. You could just hear the wheel spin out of the pits. Ronaldo decides it, and now's the time to pit. Ashley follows him. But now where is Gavin in relation to the guys that are currently in the pits? So here comes Gavin around the final corner.
He's moving up. Oh, is he going to come out?
Yes, so Gavin has been able to leapfrog both Ross and Brandon in the pits. So that puts Gavin now into second place. An absolute fantastic effort there for him. Not sure what Ross and Brandon were doing in the pits for so long, but they have just been leapfrogged by Gavin. Now this race has just got interesting.
Yep, it's a lot to play for here still.
So not only did Brandon go from second and losing a place to his teammate, but he lost the place to Ross as well, who was down in fourth place.
And will certainly know that he's got a lot of other angry racers bearing down from behind.
So that there is your battle for second, third and fourth place. This is going to be great, and I'm really looking forward to, because I'm seeing what the lap times are, knowing that Brandon and Ross had exited the pits. Gavin a little bit wide coming out of turn number 13. You can see he just touched the outside. A little puff of smoke. So Vaughan, I hope that you are back in your seat with your glass of wine. This race is turned. As you can see, your racing boot now leads this, but not the boot that you expected it to be. Brandon starting to close up on Ross. Ross feeling a bit of that pressure. 1:26.2 for Gavin. A 1:52 pit stop for Ross, and a 2 minute for Brandon. That was 8 seconds longer in the pits.
See that Ashley now has a penalty against his name too, interestingly enough.
So I'm getting the sense that Brandon is going quicker than Ross. So I think it might just be a matter of time, and Brandon will get an opportunity and move himself ahead of Ross. So we can just jump back one position. I want to see the action that's happening between Ross and Brandon now that Gavin's starting to just move up a little gap there.
Wow, wow.
A little touch of the outside curve there, and a huge moment there for Brandon.
It's amazing how those curves throw the car off. It really is phenomenal to see that. It can be a matter of an inch or two on those tires, and suddenly the car wants to bite you. Put our down now onto that second straight.
Let's see if Ross goes and defends the inside line. Ross is deep. Brandon's going to tighten up. Let's see who gets that power on first. DRS will be open. We can just bring up that speedometer there, please.
Yeah.
Here we go. DRS open. 260. Going on to 270.
Wow, these cars are flying. 280. That's quick. On the brakes now. Into that corner.
Ross defends. Ross is very deep. And we've seen this happen before where Ross has been chasing. Ross is being chased going into turn number 6, and he makes little mistakes, just out braking himself. So we hope that that is not going to be repeated here. Ross a little bit wide going into turn number 8. Brandon taking a nice late entry through turn number 10. And not making use of the DRS through this little section here. Nice.
Saving it for the main straight to come. Oh, it's a late braking. You can see how quickly that gap closes. Remember the racing mantra, smooth racing is fast racing. So these guys will be trying to practice that. There we go, turn 16. Yo. Brandon taking it quite right. Ross knows that he's there, no doubt about that.
Oof, Ross a little bit wide going out of turn number 1. Now into turn number 2. This is where Ross went a little bit wide. Brandon now makes that mistake. He'll now need to tighten up to turn 3. And while these two are fighting, you can see Gavin has matched the race pace of our race leader. 124.9 for Gavin. So he's now extending his lead while Ross and Brandon battle a lot.
See what's going on further down the order.
I can tell you what's happening. We've got Ashley, Alex and Ronaldo getting themselves into a little battle there, and that is that battle for 5th, 6th and 7th place.
The gap is a bit bigger between Ronaldo and Alexander. Alexander and Ashley have got some real tight racing going on there. Let's see if we can move up. There we are. Ashley seems to have his brake light on. Go away, it's saying. Go away. Be away with you.
Oh, a little deep there for Alex. So I'm not sure whether that was just part of the feed that we're getting from him. Unless that is the line. But if you guys are on the stream, let me know. Is that the line he should have been taking? But it did look a little bit wide. But I see a lot of guys taking this wider outside line as opposed to going on the inside. Little flick of the rear for Alex. That's going to allow Ashley to get away.
Wide,
completely offline. Oof. Okay, if we can go back to 3rd place, that's less than 0.2 of a second.
Look what's happening behind, right there. I saw it in the rearview mirror. That is Ronaldo. Ooh, hang on. Somebody's limping there. Who's limping?
No, that was Marshall just getting out of the way there.
Yeah, he's not quite on the pace.
Then we can just jump back to 3rd place because it looks like Gavin is getting a little bit more pressure now from Ross. Ross being able to close up an additional second from him.
Look right behind. Opposite. Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no, that's wide.
Whoa.
And then sneaks past. Was a over move from Ross, not right on top of his car going through that turn.
So that means Ross is now down into 4th place. Brandon now up into 3rd. Little mistake there for Ross going through turn number 11.
That was just bad place. Wrong time, wrong place for a move like that to happen.
So Gavin a 127.2 there for him. Brandon 126 and Ross a 127.7. So Brandon definitely the quicker of these 3 drivers now. So will he now have his sights on 2nd place? And we haven't really seen much of our race leader with just under 10 minutes to go. Christopher is still leading, putting those 124s together. But all that racing action is definitely happening further down the field between Gavin, Brandon and Ross for second, third and fourth. And then 5th, 6th and 7th place, they've got their own little battle going on. So lots of little battles happening throughout the field. And nice to see that we still have Marshall, even though he's had some troubles, sticking in there. Sean van der Linde also sticking around with Jakes, putting it in the wall, going through turn number 7. DRS open, no downforce to help him. And he landed up putting it into the wall there, losing his front wheel and limping it home.
Very, very big pity. See that Christopher sitting so far up front hasn't really got much to worry about. And it is at times like this when some drivers become a bit complacent and they let little errors slip them by. That is exactly how Gavin caught up to Brandon. Well, I beg your pardon, Brandon caught up to Gavin. I think that Gavin was letting little errors pass, meaning that he's now Brandon on his rear, back down there. The battle for second.
You can see Ross starting to lose just a little bit of momentum that he had on these guys, because now both Gavin and Brandon that is 0.017 of a second that Gavin and Brandon did in terms of a lap time.
A little bit of a lock-up on just joining us. We've got 8 minutes to go in the Alpha tier race of the Formula V8 League. These cars powered by Renault 3.5 litre V8 motors. And this is live on YouTube, going around the world this evening. It is SARCO, the South African Racing Community Online. My name is Steven Darge, joining Dylan Hall up in the commentary box. And tonight's action very proudly brought to you by VX Game. Ascom, deliver your parcel.
So I see that Ashley's got himself just a little bit of breathing space now over Alex. Alex now just on 2 seconds there that he now needs to recover. But we don't know what those time penalties are that will still need to be served currently by Ashley and Gavin. Generally,
it's going to make a big difference, I suspect, especially for Gavin.
Generally, if you're hitting it,
have to open that cap.
Yeah, generally if you're hitting a time penalty and it is going to the pits, that first minimum penalty is 10 seconds. And that can go up to 30 seconds. Anything over 50 seconds is an immediate disqualification.
Well, hopefully that's not the case here. That would be a rotten bit of affairs for Gavin. Oh, I see Ross has just scored some penalty.
So Ross obviously pushing really, really hard, but look at those times. 125.0, 125.3, 125.4.
A lot of very tight competition. That's going to be very, very tight heading into the last 6 minutes of racing here this evening.
And I must say, I'm very impressed with Gavin. He's got Brandon, who's ahead of him. Brandon just out qualifying Gavin, but it is Gavin who's keeping Brandon at bay. And Brandon not able to close that gap down.
Yep. Of course, the other thing is, with some drivers having retired from the race because of connection issues, amongst others, it does mean there are fewer cars on the track. It does also mean that there's more space for these guys to stretch their legs a bit. But we can't see a visual of the map right now with where these cars are. But you'll notice there's quite a big gap between them.
So we have
Brandon fighting hard.
5 minutes to go. Christopher 24 seconds ahead of the current driver on screen. in the picture.
It is safe to say at this point that unless something goes horribly wrong for Christopher, and I will no bad his way, unless something goes very horribly wrong there, it is almost a foregone conclusion that Christopher has got this one in the bag.
Well, you talk about easing up and getting complacent. Looking at Christopher's lap times, he's still doing 124.7, so he's still the fastest on the track. So he is by no means, while we look at Marshall limping with no front left wheel, Christopher is definitely not limping away. He is still giving it his all.
There is Marshall. He must have connected with one of the walls.
So he must just make sure he brings it home safely. Don't get into anybody's way.
Yep. Pity.
And Ashley's got himself a little bit more breathing space. That's now up to 4 seconds now between himself and Alex.
The gap now having widened between Ross and Ashley. 9 seconds there, at least.
So a really good result there for Ross. I'm sure he'll be happy with that with his fourth place. But still, well, that's starting to close up between Gavin and Brandon. So there could still very well be a change up in those positions, depending on what Gavin's time penalty is. Because you can see that time between Brandon and Gavin now is almost 1 second.
Jump on board. Brandon, he's pushing hard. And it is at a time like this with just under 2. Oh, there it is, Commentator's curse. I am sorry, Brandon. That was not my fault. It was Dylan's fault. Definitely never is mine. That is unfortunate. That's very, very unfortunate. That means that gap having widened quite significantly now. 6 seconds. That's what I was just about to say. Push too hard. Be too enthusiastic to close that gap, and especially with time pressure. Little mistake.
And just for the record, guys, I do not have control of what camera we go to. That is all on Steven, not me.
No. I have a... What Dylan isn't telling you is that I have a separate set of headphones and he's barking controls into my ear. Complete nonsense. This is not true. It was my fault. Entirely. And he's got a lot of work to do if he's going to find himself.
No, I think Brandon has now allowed Gavin to get away.
Much of a gap. Looking pretty set in the last 1.5 minutes.
Yeah, Ronaldo's he's also just fallen off that pace between himself and Alex. And Jake's in 8th place with Sean in 9th and Marshall. All he needs to do is just bring it home, bag himself some points, and that will definitely help him later on.
As opposed to a DNF, at least you get something on the board.
I can see some of the messages coming through talking about the commentators cursed, and some things that we can't really repeat, but I did let it go through because I don't think that's too much of a bad word. But looks like Vaughan and Peter are definitely having a great time there watching the stream, supporting their team. So 42 seconds, Christopher would possibly be on his final lap.
Very, very good racing here this evening. 10 seconds to go. And what you are seeing on your screen now is pretty much set. It is going to be Christopher in first, Gavin in second, Brandon in third, Ross takes home 4th position. Ash comes home in 5th. Alexander bags himself 6th. Ronaldo finds himself in 7th place. X down in 8th.
What is Gavin's time penalty? If that is 10 seconds, that's going to put him in 3rd.
Have to find out. Minute and a half. Or racing is finished. We will see the results board. We'll have to see what happens between Ashley and Ross as well.
It was Brandon just going past Sean and making sure that he didn't touch it. The last thing he wanted to do is have contact on the last corner and absolutely ruin his race. I thought I could...
See, Gavin has moved down. Gavin has moved down to 3rd. Gavin has moved down to 3rd. That is the result of the time penalty.
And I'm starting to think that... why did Ross go into the pits?
Look at... Yeah, that's interesting. I'm seeing...
Ross is now dropping down the order because now that puts Alex in 4th place.
We'll have to see. One's here to drop out. There we go. Right.
10-second penalty there for Gavin.
Indeed.
Which means Brandon bags himself another 2nd place.
Yep. And Ashley and Ross, top of those penalties, they'll remain where they are. There you go. You have your 1, 2, 3. Mr. Radloff coming up in 1st. Excellent race from him. All calm, consistent. Finding himself in 2nd because of Gavin's penalty. Nonetheless, awesome job driving from both Gavin and Brandon this evening. Finding themselves in 3rd and 2nd respectively. And in 4th is Alexander. 5th is Ross. 6th is Ashley. Ronaldo finds himself in 7th along with 8th place being taken by Jakes. 9th is Sean. 10th coming home is Marshall. A pity for the drivers who could not finish the race this evening. Being the Marius, he had to retire because of excessive damage to his car. Steven also had to retire, as did Connor. And great pity for them. Endel also finding himself out of the race. Right now, you will hear silence from Mr. Hall, my co-commentator. He is busy adding up all the points, allocating points where he can to see where all of these guys do pitch up in the final standings from this evening's race. It is round 3 of the Formula V8 Challenge. Real fantastic racing that came out of Hockenheim this evening. Both the Bravo and Alpha tiers. Join in the commentary box now. There we go. We've got our 1st and 2nd finishers. It is our 3rd finisher. Gavin, welcome. Christopher, we'll start with you. Fantastic racing. You seemed quite at ease out there, having put yourself so far ahead of Brandon.
I wouldn't say at ease, but definitely felt a lot more comfortable this week. Put in the time to iron out the setup, and I was very comfortable with the car. Actually, not so comfortable with the track, but definitely put in the time to be able to be quite consistent. So very, very pleased with my pace, and with how the race went. I was lucky to get away in the beginning, and just kept my head down.
Phenomenal start that you had. It was an absolutely phenomenal start, and you managed to avoid the nonsense that went down at turn 1 that saw the retirement of Marius, who was in 3rd, and he was having a good race until that happened. But it seems that that nobody else was quick enough to catch you. What would you put it down to? Was it not just a setup? Was it just the attitude that you had towards the racing?
Probably just the attitude. Not the attitude. Sorry, just the setup. Just putting in the effort and honing in on that setup. I did quite a bit of work and changed quite a lot on the car to get it where I wanted it to be, and I was just very comfortable.
Certainly.
So let's go to you, Gavin. You had an absolutely fantastic battle. There was a time where yourself, Marius, and Brandon were absolutely fighting it out. We had Ross catching you, and then you managed to leapfrog them coming out of the pits. What was your strategy there?
Yeah, look, I don't know. Like seeing the last race where I crashed out early, I thought if I'm behind them, I'm just going to sit and wait for them to make a mistake. I'm not going to push and just try and get past them. So then obviously Mario spun out. Then I got that place. And then I don't know what happened. When I went into the pits, I came out. I didn't see where Brandon was. I think he still did another lap. And then when he pitted and he came out, he was behind me. So I was very surprised. But I think he made a bit of a mistake there. He might tell you about it.
Yeah, we're definitely going to ask him about that for sure. And then your little time penalty basically cost you your second place.
Yeah, exactly. I'm actually not sure where I got it.
We'll tell you exactly where it is. So that 10 seconds is you speeding into the pit lane.
Exactly. Well, you see, you learn. You learn. You live and you learn.
Speed traps are everywhere, my friend. Speed traps are everywhere. You got to watch yourself.
And then let's go to you.
Brandon,
let's go to you, Brandon. Absolute fantastic race there for you.
It was an epic race, man. Got off the line pretty decently, but Marius for some reason gets a crazy start from wherever he is. And he had the straight line speed of who knows what in this car. This car was so fun. So in the last sector, both Gavin and I kept catching him, and then we had to wait and catch him and wait, and then he would just, literally 20 k's an hour quicker down the straight than us. So eventually he did make the mistake that we were waiting for, and I think we both got past him. And then, we were sitting waiting because Chris was already then 10 seconds, 11 seconds ahead. He just went, like you say, he got the setup right, and he got the car connected this week. It was excellent from him. But then going into the pits, I stopped in someone else's pit box and sat there for like 7 seconds. They came behind me and went into their pit box, and I realized, I made a big mistake. So that's where Gav got past me.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Fight again with Ross to try and get through with him. Yes, it was tough. It was actually very good racing with Marius, with Ross, with Gav. Tried to catch Gav again, but kept making mistakes in his slipstream. But it was all excellent. It was actually one of my best races so far. It was good fun from the start to the end.
No, awesome.
Absolutely. There was no doubt it was fantastic racing for everybody on the track this evening. And we will be looking to see if you guys can repeat these fantastic driving experiences next week. We return to round 4.
That's it. And we head to the Le Mans Bugatti track. So not really one that we use for Formula 1 or for these type of cars, but I think it's going to be an absolute cracker. Guys, thank you so much. Absolutely fantastic racing. We're looking forward to seeing you.
Lovely.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers, guys.
Well
Thank
done,
you.
Well done again. Cheers.
Cheers.
Easy you all.
And then to you, Steven, thank you so much for once again joining me in the commentary box. We did have a few little technical issues for Monday, so we didn't get to see you. But thank you very much, and we hope to see you back on Monday. But some really, really fantastic racing. A few little incidences, and we have seen some of the discussions coming through. A few little touches. It is part of the racing.
There's one unhappy racer by the name of Steven. He wasn't entirely happy with the way that he had to retire. And it was a great pity for him, but next week remains an option. He can still make up the points difference next week. And remember, we are still early on in the racing, in this challenge. There's still a number of rounds to come. We're only in round number 3. That was round number 3 that we have finished with now. Coming up next week, as you say, is the Le Mans track. We are at the Le Mans Bugatti track. Following that, race number 5 is Silverstone. 6, we find ourselves at Algarve. 7 at Imola. And number 8, it is the finale. And that takes place at Spa. A lot more racing to come between now and then, though. and right here on SARCO. Tonight's action very proudly brought to you by VX Gaming, NASCOM, and Deliver Your Parcel right here on YouTube, live with the South African racing community online.
And with that, Steven, thank you so much. We'll catch up with you on Monday. Have a great rest of the week and enjoy your weekend.
Bye.
Cheers.